Today, we're going to be speaking about Tips, which is an iPhone app. And specifically, we're going to go into a guide on how to use the application and understand more about this app that provides helpful hints and hidden gems, is the way that it's been advertised. So let's get into it. As usual, a little table of contents, just so everybody knows what we're going to be talking about. We're going to start with kind of a definition, explaining what the Tips app is. Then a bit of its history, so when it was first introduced, then how it's kind of changed and evolved over time, how to navigate the app when you're actually using it, making sure that you're using it effectively, and then some common tips and tricks that they kind of give users when they first begin using the application. And to end off, we'll do some troubleshooting of common issues with a live demonstration video. So lots to cover today. But to begin, just to kind of get everybody on the same page as to what the Tips app actually is. So it's a built-in application on iPhones in particular. So that means that you would have to have an Apple smartphone for this information to kind of apply to you. And the app was designed to help you learn about and make the most of your device. It's specifically designed to answer your questions, provide useful hints, and also teach you how to enhance your iPhone using experience. It also covers various device features and kind of helps you to unlock new things that maybe you didn't know about your phone. I feel like smartphones can do so much, but we may not know all of those things because there's just so many different options and settings and features. So it's good to kind of have an app that can give you ideas of how you can expand your use of your device. So when was it first introduced? It was kind of born in September of 2014, and that was around iOS 8 systems. The update was around the time that iOS 8 came out. So it was quite a while ago, and it's been some time since then. But its original purpose was to provide users with an easy way to learn about new features as well as tips that kind of come out as the iPhone evolves and new updates come out. And that would help users to improve their iPhone usage. It is a part of Apple's broader effort to make sure that users get the most out of their devices and also stay informed about new functionalities because the world is always changing, especially Apple. They're very fast paced. There's always a new device, a new version, a new phone. So this helps you to kind of stay up to date with that and get the most out of your phone that you did pay quite a lot for. So it's good to know that you're covered in that way. Since 2014, it has changed, as many things do, but its initial release included basic tips about iPhone functionalities, kind of just tips and tricks. Then, when it became iOS 9 and beyond, the subsequent updates added more tips and also improved the app's interface. So that helped people to navigate the app better, but also provided more relevant and timely information. So it was easier to use and it just functioned a bit better. More recently, the app has continued to evolve as the iOS system updates, and it incorporates new features and tips reflecting changes that have been happening to iPhone technology and iOS capabilities. So over time, new tips and tricks will come out as iPhones evolve. So now we're going to go into how to actually use and navigate the app so that you can find the tips and tricks that you can then use to make sure that you're using your phone in the best way possible. So to get started, step one is to locate the Tips app icon, and that will be on your iPhone's home screen. It looks like a light bulb on an orange background. You then just need to click on that icon and the app will be launched. So from there, you're ready to start using Tips. Some of its main features include featured tips. So there will be a main screen that shows you featured tips that are updated periodically, maybe every few days. And those are the tips that have been highlighted as useful features and tricks. So it's kind of like when you go on to a news app and you just see kind of some of these main headlines. Those are kind of the most relevant or the most kind of current events. So tips is similar. It's going to show you the most kind of up-to-date featured tips and tricks that you can maybe take a look at. But if you're not happy with kind of the things that come up with featured tips, and you can also, sorry, I forgot to mention, you can also use how to use scroll, which is where you go through a list to find tips that interest you. So it's kind of a way of browsing. You would kind of go through a few different options as you scroll down the list. But if that doesn't meet kind of what you're looking for, you can also use the search function, which allows you to use keywords to search for specific tips or topics. The way of using this is to click on the search bar, which is at the top of the screen, and then you enter some keywords related to the feature you want to learn about. For example, if you wanted to learn more about accessibility features, you could just search up accessibility. Another main feature is categories, and this is where tips are organized into different categories, for example, getting started, camera, or accessibility. And those are umbrella terms that are used to then kind of encompass a lot of different other smaller topics that you could go into, but it sorts them by that topic so that they're easily found. You can just click on a category to view tips related to that topic. And here there's an example. It says get started. And a few of the subcategories they have here are navigate your iPhone, protect your information, be prepared, set up the essentials, and personalize your iPhone. So that's what Apple deems as some of the most important things to be looking at when you first get your iPhone. There's also the option to read later, so you can save tips that you want to revisit at a later time. You can use this feature by tapping the share icon, which is just a square with an upward arrow coming out of it, and then you select add to reading list, and that will bookmark it for you to read it at a later time. Now we're going to talk a bit more about how to actually use tips effectively. Something that they do recommend is daily use. So you want to do regular check-ins. You can just do this by opening the Tips app regularly to discover any new tips and stay updated with features. So kind of going back to that news analogy, if you go into the app, each day, you're going to see the new things that come out on a daily basis. Whereas if you're not really checking in on it, you're not going to know when it's updated. So if you're really interested in using the application, maybe you can just add it as something that you quickly look at in the morning. From there, you want to apply tips. So actually try the tips out as you read them to see how they work in practice. I feel like sometimes it can be overwhelming if you read multiple things and then you go and try them out. So maybe just slowly go along with it, do each step, and then go back into the app and keep reading. So it can be an easy follow along. There's also always the opportunity to learn new features, and you can do this with the Explore categories. So you can browse different categories and find tips on specific features you're interested in, or use the search bar if you're looking for help with a very specific issue. Finally, improving your experience, the accessibility tips will allow you to kind of make your iPhone easier for you to use if you have special accommodations such as vision or hearing impairments. So really making sure it's accessible to you and having it so it comes with ease rather than kind of struggling if the text is too small. You don't want to be always zooming in. You can make the text bigger. You can use voice command to type if it's kind of difficult to be using your fingers with that kind of dexterity, with those small movements. And it just makes it a lot easier for you personally to use your iPhone. There's also the customization feature, and you can learn how to customize settings and apps better to fit your personal preferences and needs. So this is something that they really emphasize in the newer version of tips is the personalization, making sure you as a user have your needs met. And it's a way of adjusting it to whatever those needs may be. Now, there are some more common tips and tricks that the Tips app recommend. For example, if you want to be kind of getting in a habit of checking it daily, you can use Siri shortcuts, set up shortcuts to perform tasks more quickly using Siri. Also,
Which
screenshot.
shortcut would you like to run?
Sorry, I've now activated my Siri.
Sorry, which shortcut would you like to run?
Um, you can also, sorry about that. You can also screenshot. It's another great feature. And you do this by pressing the side button and the volume up button simultaneously to take a screenshot. Some camera tips that they have. Burst mode is really helpful if you want to take multiple pictures at a time. You do this by just holding down the shutter button and to take a series of photos in quick succession. So instead of like clicking, if you just hold it down, it'll just take a bunch. And whatever you're taking a photo of, if it's a person or, they can be moving around and it'll capture it as they're moving. It's just a bit more effective in terms of efficiency. There's also portrait mode under the camera tips, and you can use this to create a professional looking photo with a blurred background. So it'll just really focus in on the main subject of the photo. This might be really good for, any sort of business profile picture you need or sending in a headshot or anything like that can be really helpful for getting a really high quality photo. And then they also have productivity specific tips, such as do not disturb, which allows you to silence notifications during meetings or sleep. And also the control center, where you can swipe down from the top right corner or up from the bottom to access quick settings. Now, there are, of course, some issues that may arise, as there are with any apps or platforms that you're using. So they do have some troubleshooting techniques and tips for how to address that. If you can't find a tip, then it's recommended that you use the search bar to find specific tips or browse through categories. If you still can't find what you need, try visiting Apple's support website or even just searching it up in your web browser. So, for example, how do I do XYZ on an Apple iPhone? And usually the internet comes up with YouTube videos, the Apple website, lots of other resources, even forums where people with the same issue have been discussing it. So it's a way to kind of broaden up the troubleshooting experience that you're having. If apps are not opening, then it's always a good kind of practice to restart your iPhone and try opening the app again. If the problem does persist, then check for iOS updates or even reinstall the app if necessary. Perfect. So I think that is the end of the slides presentation, but I do want to just thank everybody so much for joining us today. It was so nice to have you all here. We will be going out into breakout rooms now, one for tech discussion and one for socializing, I believe. And as always, if you have any additional questions or you think it would be good for you to run through the session with a one-on-one volunteer, we do have tech sessions that you can sign up for via email or the website or the phone number. So, yeah, thank you so much for listening.